Lieutenant Hansol stood at the command center of Earth Defense Station Beta, his eyes fixed on the massive display screen. Red dots appeared one after another, like raindrops in a storm. Each dot was an enemy ship entering Earth's outer colony space. "Sir, we're getting distress signals from Nova Colony," said Officer Kim Yuri, her voice shaking. "The aliens, they're everywhere." Hansol gripped the edge of his console. Just 6 hours ago, life had been normal. Now, everything was changing. The Drachnid Empire, a species nobody on Earth had heard of before today, had appeared from nowhere with hundreds of warships. "Show me Nova Colony," Hansol ordered. The screen changed to show live footage from the colony's surface cameras. Massive ships, dark as storm clouds and shaped like arrowheads, hung in the sky. They were firing purple beams that cut through buildings like they were made of paper. "Get me Colonel Ba on the line," Hansol said. He needed to talk to someone higher up. This was too big for a lieutenant to handle alone. The screen flickered, showing Colonel Ba's tired face. "Lieutenant, I assume you're calling about the invasion." "Yes, sir. Nova Colony is under heavy attack. We're seeing similar patterns at stations 4, 7, and 9. The aliens aren't even trying to talk. They're just destroying everything." A new alert flashed on Hansol's screen. He read it quickly, his face going pale. "Sir, we just intercepted some of their communications. Our computers translated it. They're calling us primitive apes. They think this is going to be easy." Colonel Ba's expression hardened. "They're wrong about that, Lieutenant. Keep monitoring the situation. I need to make some calls." The screen went dark. Hansol turned back to the main display, watching as more red dots appeared. Officer Yuri worked at her station, trying to coordinate with the colonies under attack. "Lieutenant," she called out suddenly. "Message from Nova Colony. The aliens, they're landing ground troops now." Hansol watched the new footage. Tall, reptilian creatures in black armor were marching out of their ships. They carried weapons that looked more advanced than anything humans had. The aliens moved with confidence, like they were taking a walk in a park rather than invading a planet. "They think we're weak," Hansol said quietly. "They think we'll be an easy conquest." A soldier ran into the command center, holding a tablet. "Sir, you need to see this. The aliens just broadcasted a message to all colonies." Hansol took the tablet. The message was simple: "Submit to the Drachnid Empire or face extinction. You have 1 Earth hour to decide." Hansol looked at the scared faces around him. These were good people, trained soldiers, but nothing had prepared them for this. He thought about his family back on Earth, about all the families in the colonies. The aliens thought humans would give up easily. They thought humans were primitive and weak. "Send a message to all stations," Hansol said, standing straighter. "Tell them to prepare for battle. We don't submit to bullies, not even alien ones." As he gave the order, Hansol didn't know that high above Earth, in a secret facility called the Nest, Colonel Kim Do-young was about to receive a very important phone call. A call that would change everything. A call about releasing the J-Ost unit. The Drachnids thought they knew what humans were capable of. They thought this would be an easy victory. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Colonel Kim Do-young walked through the bright white halls of the Nest, Earth's most secret military base. His footsteps echoed as he headed to the training area. Behind the thick glass walls, 20 soldiers moved with impossible speed and strength. These were his soldiers, the J-Ost unit. The emergency phone in his pocket rang. He answered it immediately. Colonel Kim speaking. "This is General Park. The Drachnids have attacked our colonies. We need the J-Ost unit. Now." Kim looked at his soldiers again. For 10 years, they had trained in secret. The world didn't know about them. They were Earth's hidden guardians, made stronger and faster through careful genetic changes. They were humanity's last resort. "Understood, sir. We're ready." Major Lee Jae-yun was lifting weights in the gym when the alert sounded. The weights she was lifting weren't normal. Each one weighed as much as a small car. She put them down carefully and stood up. Around her, other members of G-Host unit were already moving. All G-Host unit members report to the briefing room immediately. Colonel Kim's voice came through the speakers. 5 minutes later, 20 super soldiers sat in the briefing room. They wore simple black uniforms with a small ghost patch on the shoulder. Colonel Kim stood before them, his face serious. "The Drachnid Empire has attacked our colonies," he said. "They think humans are weak. They expect us to surrender." He paused, looking at each soldier. "We're going to prove them very wrong." He touched a screen, showing images of the alien ships and soldiers. "The Drachnids have better technology than us, but they don't know about you, about what humans can become when we push our limits." Major Lee raised her hand. "Sir, what are our orders?" "We're deploying to Nova Colony first. It's under heavy attack. Your enhanced abilities will surprise them. Use that advantage." Colonel Kim looked at his team. "Remember your training. Work together. Show them what G-Host unit can do." The soldiers stood and walked to the equipment room. They put on their special armor, designed to work with their enhanced strength and speed. The armor was lightweight but stronger than tank armor. Major Lee checked her team's gear one last time. She remembered when she first joined the program. The genetic changes had been hard on her body, but she had never given up. Now she was stronger than any normal human. Faster too. And she wasn't alone. "Major," Lieutenant Park Min-ki said, walking up to her. He was the youngest member of the unit. "Do you think we're ready for this? Real combat against aliens?" Lee looked at him. "We've trained for 10 years, Min-ki. We're more than ready. These aliens think they know what humans can do. They're about to learn they're wrong." Colonel Kim's voice came over the speakers again. "Transport ships are ready. G-Host unit, move out." 20 soldiers walked to the landing pad where 3 black transport ships waited. They moved with perfect grace, their steps quiet despite their strength. Years of training had taught them to control their power. As Major Lee buckled into her seat, she thought about what was coming. Soon, the Drachnids would learn that humanity wasn't as simple as they thought. Soon, they would learn about G-Host unit, and then everything would change. The transport ships lifted off, heading for Nova Colony. Inside, 20 super soldiers prepared for their first real battle. They were humanity's secret weapon, and they were ready to fight. Colonel Kim Do-young walked through the bright white halls of the Nest, Earth's most secret military base. His footsteps echoed as he headed to the training area. Behind the thick glass walls, 20 soldiers moved with impossible speed and strength. These were his soldiers. The G-Host unit. The emergency phone in his pocket rang. He answered it immediately. Colonel Kim speaking. "This is General Park. The Drachnids have attacked our colonies. We need the G-Host unit. Now." Kim looked at his soldiers again. For 10 years, they had trained in secret. The world didn't know about them. They were Earth's hidden guardians, made stronger and faster through careful genetic changes. They were humanity's last resort. "Understood, sir. We're ready." Major Lee Jae-yun was lifting weights in the gym when the alert sounded. The weights she was lifting weren't normal. Each one weighed as much as a small car. She put them down carefully and stood up. Around her, other members of G-Host unit were already moving. All G-Host unit members report to the briefing room immediately. Colonel Kim's voice came through the speakers. 5 minutes later, 20 super soldiers sat in the briefing room. They wore simple black uniforms with a small ghost patch on the shoulder. Colonel Kim stood before them, his face serious. "The Drachnid Empire has attacked our colonies," he said. "They think humans are weak. They expect us to surrender." He paused, looking at each soldier. "We're going to prove them very wrong." He touched a screen, showing images of the alien ships and soldiers. "The Drachnids have better technology than us, but they don't know about you, about what humans can become when we push our limits. Major Lee raised her hand. Sir, what are our orders? We're deploying to Nova Colony first. It's under heavy attack. Your enhanced abilities will surprise them. Use that advantage. Colonel Kim looked at his team. Remember your training. Work together. Show them what HFY unit can do. The soldiers stood and walked to the equipment room. They put on their special armor, designed to work with their enhanced strength and speed. The armor was lightweight but stronger than tank armor. Major Lee checked her team's gear one last time. She remembered when she first joined the program. The genetic changes had been hard on her body, but she had never given up. Now she was stronger than any normal human. Faster too, and she wasn't alone. Major, Lieutenant Park Min-ki said, walking up to her. He was the youngest member of the unit. Do you think we're ready for this? Real combat against aliens. Lee looked at him. We've trained for 10 years, Min-ki. We're more than ready. These aliens think they know what humans can do. They're about to learn they're wrong. Colonel Kim's voice came over the speakers again. Transport ships are ready. HFY unit, move out. 20 soldiers walked to the landing pad where 3 black transport ships waited. They moved with perfect grace, their steps quiet despite their strength. Years of training had taught them to control their power. As Major Lee buckled into her seat, she thought about what was coming. Soon, the Drachnids would learn that humanity wasn't as simple as they thought. Soon, they would learn about HFY unit, and then everything would change. The transport ships lifted off, heading for Nova Colony. Inside, 20 super soldiers prepared for their first real battle. They were humanity's secret weapon, and they were ready to fight. The transport ships landed quietly on Nova Colony under the cover of darkness. The Drachnid forces had taken control of most of the main city, but they hadn't found the hidden landing area in the mountains yet. Major Lee Jae-yun led her team out of the ships, their black armor blending with the night. Team 1, with me, she whispered into her radio. Team 2, follow Lieutenant Park. Remember, the aliens don't know about us. Let's keep the surprise as long as we can. Through their advanced helmets, they could see the Drachnid patrol groups in the city below. The alien soldiers were tall and moved with a reptilian grace, their black armor reflecting the fires they had started. Lieutenant Park Min-ki moved forward with his team, keeping to the shadows. He had trained for years for this moment. Now it was time to show what he could do. Up ahead, he saw a Drachnid heavy tank moving through the streets. It was 3 times the size of an Earth tank, with guns that could destroy buildings in one shot. Major, he said quietly into his radio. I see a tank. Request permission to engage. Granted, Major Lee replied. Show them what HFY unit can do. Park took a deep breath and moved. To anyone watching, he would have looked like a black blur. His enhanced speed let him run faster than any normal human could see. He reached the tank in seconds. The Drachnid soldiers on top of the tank didn't even have time to shout. Park grabbed the tank's main gun with his enhanced strength and bent it upward like it was made of rubber. Then he punched through the tank's armor with his bare hands. The Drachnid crew inside stared at him in shock. They had never seen anything like this, a human tearing through metal like paper. It wasn't possible. But it was happening. Who? What are you? One of the aliens asked in broken English. HFY unit, Park answered, then pulled them out of the tank one by one. Across the city, other members of HFY unit were in action. Major Lee's team attacked the main Drachnid base. The aliens' weapons were advanced, but they couldn't hit what they couldn't see. The super soldiers moved too fast, their enhanced reflexes letting them dodge energy beams and plasma shots. Captain Sung Min jumped 30 feet into the air, landing on top of a Drachnid command post. His enhanced strength let him tear through the roof like it was paper. Inside, alien officers reached for their weapons, but they were too slow. Send a message to your leaders, Sung Min told them as he disabled their weapons. Tell them humans aren't as weak as they thought. The Drachnids were starting to panic. Their communications were filled with confused reports. Humans moving faster than their tracking systems could follow. Humans strong enough to destroy tanks with their bare hands. This wasn't what they had expected. All teams report. Major Lee called over the radio. She had just finished securing the main power station. Team 2, all targets neutralized. Park responded. Team 3, command post captured. Sung Min added. Team 4, spaceport under our control, another voice said. In just 1 hour, 20 Ghost unit soldiers had taken back half the city. The Drachnids were retreating in confusion, their perfect invasion plan falling apart. They had expected to find primitive humans with simple weapons. Instead, they had found something that terrified them. As the sun rose over Nova Colony, the Drachnid forces were in full retreat. They had learned an important lesson: never underestimate humans. And this was just the beginning. Captain Sung Min floated in space near the Drachnid command ship. His special armor protected him from the vacuum. Normal spacesuits were too bulky for Ghost units' enhanced speed and strength, so their scientists had made something better. The armor was thin but strong, letting them move freely even in space. Through the ship's windows, he could see Drachnid officers moving around. They were watching videos from Nova Colony, showing Ghost unit in action. Even from here, he could tell they were scared. All teams in position. Major Lee's voice came through his radio. They had 4 teams spread around the massive alien ship. Remember, Colonel Kim added from his command post, "We need to capture this ship, not destroy it. The Drachnids are sending all their battle plans through here." Some men gave the signal. 20 black armored figures moved toward the ship from different directions. The Drachnids had good sensors, but Ghost unit's armor had special technology that made them hard to detect. Inside the ship, alarms started to sound. Sung Min smiled. They had finally been spotted, but it was too late. He reached the hull and placed his hand on it. His enhanced strength let him feel the weak spots in the metal. "Breach points marked," he said into his radio. 3, 2, 1. Now. 20 pairs of enhanced hands punched through the ship's hull at the same time. The Drachnids had built their ships to be strong, but they hadn't planned for super soldiers. Ghost unit tore through the metal like it was cloth. Air rushed out of the holes they had made, but their armor protected them. They moved inside quickly, sealing the breaches behind them with special patches. Now the real work would begin. Inside the ship, chaos spread quickly. Drachnid soldiers ran through the corridors, trying to stop the intruders. But Ghost unit was too fast, too strong. They moved like shadows, taking down aliens before they could even raise their weapons. "Command center located," Major Lee reported, moving to secure it now. Some men fought his way toward the engine room. He had studied Drachnid ship designs, and he knew this was where they kept their most important systems. 2 alien engineers tried to stop him. He disabled them quickly, careful not to cause serious harm. "Engine room secured," he reported. "Their power systems are more advanced than we thought. Technical team should see this." Throughout the ship, similar reports came in. Ghost unit moved room by room, capturing key areas. The Drachnids fought back, but their weapons seemed slow and clumsy against the enhanced humans. In the command center, Major Lee found what they were looking for. The Drachnid's main computer held all their battle plans. It showed how they had expected an easy victory over Earth. Now those plans were falling apart. "Colonel," she called over the radio, "you need to see this. They have images of our team from Nova Colony. They're calling us human demons in their reports. They're spreading warnings to their whole fleet." Colonel Kim's voice was satisfied when he replied, "Good. Let them spread the word. Fear can be a powerful weapon." In less than an hour, Earth's super soldiers had captured the Drachnid's most powerful ship. The aliens' confidence was shaken. They had thought themselves superior, but now they weren't so sure. As some men helped secure the prisoners, he heard the aliens whispering among themselves. They spoke of humans who could tear through metal, who moved faster than their weapons could track. The story of GEO's unit was spreading through the Drachnid fleet, and with it spread fear. Lieutenant Choi Jae-won sat alone in his quarters on the captured Drachnid ship. He held a small device in his hands, watching video messages from the Drachnid homeworld. The ship's computers had been full of them. Young Drachnids were protesting in the streets, questioning everything their leaders had told them about humans. The door opened, and Major Lee Jae-yun walked in. She saw the troubled look on Choi's face and sat down beside him. "What's bothering you, Jae-won?" she asked quietly. "Look at this," he said, showing her the video. The Drachnids told their people they were superior to everyone else. Now their young ones are seeing us, seeing what we can do. It's causing problems in their society. Major Lee watched the video. On the screen, a young Drachnid was speaking to a crowd. They said humans were primitive, the alien said. They said this would be an easy victory. But look at these warriors they call GEO's unit. Look at what humans have become. Everything our leaders told us was wrong. In another part of the ship, Colonel Kim was having a similar conversation with Earth's military leaders. The videos of GEO's unit in action had spread across both human and Drachnid space. Everyone was talking about the super soldiers. The Drachnid Empire is breaking apart, Colonel Kim explained. Their whole society was built on the idea that they were the strongest species in space. Now that's been proven wrong. Lieutenant Choi walked through the ship's corridors later that day, thinking about everything that had happened. He passed by cells holding captured Drachnid soldiers. Some looked at him with fear. Others seemed curious, even respectful. One of the Drachnid officers called out to him, "Human, may I ask you something?" Choi stopped and turned. "Yes. Your enhanced abilities," the Drachnid said. "Were they forced upon you? Did your leaders make you change?" "No," Choi answered. "We volunteered. We chose to become stronger to protect our people. That's the difference between us. We chose this. Your leaders just told you what to believe." The conversation stayed with Choi as he continued his patrol. He thought about the changes in his own body, the strength and speed he now had. Sometimes it felt strange, being so different from normal humans, but he had chosen this path. Back in the command center, Major Lee was watching more videos from the Drachnid homeworld. The protests were spreading. Young Drachnids were demanding changes. They wanted to learn more about humans, to understand how a primitive species had created warriors like GEO's unit. "Their whole empire is changing," technical specialist Yoon said, working at her computer. "Their young people are rejecting the old ideas. They're saying if humans can evolve and adapt, maybe Drachnids need to change too." Colonel Kim called all GEO's unit members together that evening. He looked at each of their faces as he spoke. "What we've done here goes beyond winning battles," he said. "We've shown the Drachnids a different way of thinking. They thought being born superior made them strong. We showed them that true strength comes from choice, from working to become better." Lieutenant Choi looked around at his fellow soldiers. They were more than just warriors. They were showing both humans and aliens that there was always a choice, always a chance to grow and change. Maybe that was the most important victory of all. Colonel Kim Do-young stood before a huge map showing 3 star systems. Red dots marked Drachnid command centers, and blue arrows showed where GEO's unit teams would attack. This would be their biggest operation yet. "The Drachnid Empire is weakening," he told his soldiers. "But their leaders are still fighting. We need to end this war now, before more people die." Major Lee Jae-yun studied the map carefully. 3 star systems at once, sir. That's very ambitious. "We'll split into 4 teams," Colonel Kim explained. "Sergeant Nam's team will attack their main military base. Captain Sung Min's group will take their supply center. Major Lee, your team will capture their central command. I'll lead the 4th team as backup." Sergeant Nam Hyunwoo checked his weapons one last time. His team would face the hardest fight, the Drachnid Imperial Guard. These were the Empire's best soldiers, still loyal to their old ways. They hadn't given up like many other Drachnid forces. The operation began at exactly midnight Earth time. 4 black ships carried GK host unit teams to their targets. They used the stolen Drachnid codes from their earlier victory to slip past security. Sergeant Nam's team reached their target first. The Imperial Guard base was huge, built into the side of a mountain. Purple force fields protected it, and heavy guns pointed in all directions. But Nam had fought the Drachnids before. He knew their weaknesses now. Remember, he told his team, they still rely on their technology. We are faster and stronger. Don't let them group together. Don't give them time to coordinate. The battle that followed was intense. The Imperial Guard fought better than any Drachnids they had faced before. They wore special armor that made them stronger, almost as strong as GK Vost unit soldiers. But almost wasn't enough. Nam moved through their defenses like a shadow, his enhanced speed making him almost invisible. He disabled their shield generators while his team kept the guards busy. Without their shields, the base's defenses were vulnerable. Meanwhile, Captain Sung Min's team struck the supply center. They didn't need to fight much there. Most of the Drachnids surrendered as soon as they saw the black-armored humans. Ghost unit's reputation had spread far. Major Lee's mission was the hardest. The central command was deep underground, protected by layers of security. But technical specialist Yoon had given them new tools, devices that could hack Drachnid computers. They fought their way down level by level. Major, Lieutenant Park called out during the fight. These Drachnids are different. They're not as afraid as the others. They're the true believers, Major Lee answered. The ones who still think they're superior. We need to prove them wrong one last time. The battle raged for hours. Ghost unit's enhanced strength and speed was tested to its limits. But slowly, surely, they pushed forward. Nam's team broke through the Imperial Guard's defenses. Sung Min secured the supply lines. Lee's group reached the central command room. Colonel Kim's backup team helped where they were needed most. They arrived just in time to help Nam's team finish off the last Imperial Guard resistance. The Drachnid elite soldiers fought bravely, but they couldn't match the humans' enhanced abilities. By morning, all 3 targets were under GOST unit control. The Drachnid Empire's military backbone was broken. Their best soldiers had been defeated. Their leaders had been captured. The war was almost over. 1 month after the final battle, Major Lee Jadian stood in front of the United Earth Council. The large room was filled with leaders from every human colony. On screens around the walls, millions of people watched from Earth and space. It was time for GA-host unit to stop being a secret. The Drachnid Empire has officially surrendered, she announced. Their leaders have signed a peace treaty. The war is over. Colonel Kim stepped forward to stand beside her. He looked different in his formal uniform instead of battle armor. Now it's time for the world to know the full story of GA-host unit, he said. The colonel explained everything. How they had created the unit, how the soldiers had volunteered for genetic enhancement, how they had trained for years in secret. As he spoke, videos played on the screens showing GA-host unit in action. These brave men and women, he said, chose to become something new. They chose to push the limits of what humans can be. And in doing so, they saved not just humanity, but the Drachnids as well. In the audience, Lieutenant Choi watched the reactions. Some people looked amazed. Others seemed worried. He understood their concern. Ghost unit showed that humans could become much more powerful. That scared some people. But then something unexpected happened. A young Drachnid stepped onto the stage. She was part of the new Drachnid government, one of the reformers who had helped end the war. My people thought we were superior, she said. We thought that made us special. But GA-host unit showed us something important. True strength comes from choice, from wanting to be better. These humans chose to change, to grow. They didn't just defeat us. They taught us a better way. Major Lee listened to the Drachnid's words and thought about everything that had happened. She remembered the first battle on Nova Colony, the space fight at the command ship, and the final push against the Imperial Guard. Each time, the Drachnids had learned that their belief in natural superiority was wrong. After the ceremony, J-Ghost unit members gathered in their old training room at the nest. Soon, this place would become a school. Both humans and Drachnids would train here, learning to use their abilities to help others, not to conquer. What happens now? Lieutenant Park asked. Will there be more super soldiers? Yes, Colonel Kim answered. But this time, everyone will know about it. No more secrets. We'll teach others what we learned. That power must come with responsibility. Major Lee looked at her team, her family. They had changed so much since this all began. They had started as a secret weapon, hidden away from the world. Now they were teachers, examples of what humanity could become. The Drachnids thought they were the future, she said. But the future isn't about being born special. It's about choosing to become better. That's what we proved. As the sun set outside, casting long shadows through the windows, J-Ghost units stood together one last time as the secret team they had been. Tomorrow, they would begin their new mission, showing both humans and aliens how to grow stronger together. The universe had changed, and somewhere out there, other alien races were learning about Earth's super soldiers. They were learning that humans weren't primitive at all. They were learning that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't the strength you're born with, but the strength you choose to build.